Facilitators, good morning. When I look at the theme of this, that is Policy Review Workshop on Innovation and Technology Transfer in Kenya, that topic is potent. It is potent from the perspective of what it really means. We as institutions train people. We give people knowledge. We probably impart skills. But the question is, what do we do with this? Apart from just looking at it as knowledge acquisition. The Technical University of Kenya recently got funding from the Research and Innovation Systems for Africa, abbreviated as R.I.S.A, R.I.S.A, to undertake a project on technology transfer between knowledge-based institutions like universities and research institutions and knowledge users such as small and medium enterprises within the Nairobi innovation system. The Research and Innovation Systems for Africa, R.I.S.A, is a program funded by the United Kingdom Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, that aims to strengthen research and innovation ecosystems in Africa. The Technical University of Kenya and the R.I.S.A project team recently concluded a study that mapped out the technological base of SMEs and higher educational institutions in the Nairobi innovation ecosystem. I must say that I am privileged to know that the findings, which indicate a clear gap in the access and assimilation of new technologies by SMEs, driven by factors from organizational, regulatory and institutional perspectives, do exist. Just like in my opening remarks, I was saying, we as institutions train, give people knowledge. The next question is, what do we do with this knowledge? Some knowledge is for the sake of it. But being a realist, you realize that that information we acquire must have some meaning. And some of these get translated into, I didn't know I was not audible enough, but I guess, my apologies. So, just like in the various fora of this kind, one of the things people have always said, and particularly the business people out there, SMEs as examples, I've always said that they look at research institutions, they look at knowledge-based institutions like universities as entities that only provide knowledge. And that beyond that, once we graduate, if at all, you still consider them as ivory towers. The same researchers in these organizations, through their researches, come up with innovations. But more often than not, as academics, and I speak as one, we are happy to see these innovations turned into publications, and we store them in our shelves, and happy to look at them and enjoy and count them. How many publications do I have? How many innovations do I have? But that is as far as they go. These documents remain in our shelves. And the next question is, of what use is it? Other than to you as a person, maybe to get promotions, but in that environment where you exist, how is it helping us? So for me, and where I sit, this kind of engagement is significant and is important, and its significance cannot be overstated. We must have a dialogue between ourselves as the innovators and people who can carry this and put it out there in the market. Because at the end of the day, we talk about improving society or the environments that we live in. We talk about leaving the environments that we live in better places than we found them. How else can we do this other than just talk about imparting this knowledge? I am sure it gives people a lot of pride to see that that innovation that you have is actually being utilized out there in either a new technology, in a new product. So it is, honestly, it is my greatest singular pleasure to declare this workshop officially open.
So basically what we're doing here, in the wider context, we normally discuss this as the university industry partnerships. And sometimes the reason why we do that is never really clear. But what we are saying here, we want to enhance interaction, we want to enhance cooperation, we want to enhance partnerships between academia or knowledge-based institutions, such as universities, research institutes, the kind of knowledge that they generate, the technology that they generate, and find a way how that can actually reach the industry, be it the corporates, be it the small and medium enterprises, and all the other users who need to have this knowledge. So basically that is what our project in general is all about. And the question we are asking ourselves, can this process be assisted? Can you assist technology transfer to occur? Those are the queries that will guide this particular two-day session that we are going to have. We are going to see that does technology transfer happen naturally on its own, or is there a way through policy, through implementing policies, through not only doing research, but actually doing something about it, that we can enhance technology transfer?
My name is Professor Paul Shindu. I'm the Acting Vice Chancellor at the Technical University of Kenya. I'm here today to officially open this workshop, which is about technology transfer between knowledge-based institutions like the universities and potential consumers like the small medium enterprises. So the whole idea is just to look at the policy frameworks within which all of the ecosystem within which this kind of activities take place. I would want to probably put into perspective why the Technical University of Kenya. The Technical University of Kenya's motto is education and training for the real world. The whole idea is to produce graduates who are best placed to work out there in the real world. Graduates who have extensive hands-on experience in whatever activities that they are trained in. So there has always been talk about the relationship between knowledge-based institutions like universities and potential consumers. And here I can talk about the industry. That link between university and industry, which is supposed to be so significant. And I'm saying significant because the industry are basically the consumers and the producers of products. And those who produce the products are basically the products of knowledge-based institutions like universities. That link between university and industry over time has not been very good, has not been to the extent that it is expected. And why do I say this? As much as universities are knowledge creators and knowledge deliverers, it is important that the universities or training institutions are up to date with the expectations of the industry. And how do you get to know what the industry requires unless you talk to them? And therefore, the need to have a good relationship, good interaction between universities and industry. The two must talk and must talk constantly so that we know as universities, as knowledge creators, as knowledge deliverers, what the industry requires so that we can tailor-make some of these specific programs to take care of the industry and their needs. Many times you've heard the industry complain that universities probably are producing half-baked graduates. That may be attributed to a whole range of reasons. But the key thing is, what is the nature of the programs that universities have already developed? Are those programs taking cognizance of what the market requires? And remember, when you're talking about the market can be localized, meaning within the Kenya ecosystem. The market can be regional, the market can also be international. So it is very, very important that all these are taken into consideration. And as long as we know that our target is within a certain ecosystem, we can also tailor-make our programs to suit that particular market.
So I divided them into the three categories of the barriers that I have explained earlier. And the first one is an organizational solution. So UKAid, we established a student SME fund to provide financial support and grants. And this is going to be catered specifically to students, and this is going to go also in a long way in reducing that bureaucratic process of having to obtain funds, and also be much more student-friendly financial support. If it is loans, then we can have them. If it's 8% usually, then we can reduce them to something maybe like 4%, depending on which is more favorable, and it's a win-win for both parties. Next is develop partnerships with local businesses and alumni to offer mentorship and expertise. So this is now bridging the gap that we've been having, and this ties to what I was explaining yesterday for the suggestion of including students in not only participating in data collection as part of the statistic, but also as implementers of this project. I think we can reduce the work time to half if we incorporate students into this and have them be at the helm of that exchange. Next is to upgrade infrastructure and create dedicated labs for technology, innovation, and research. And I am happy to hear that we are going to have an innovation hub. I am not using these big terms because our Vice Chancellor has emphasized the need to just start, and then we will grow from there. So having something like that will be able to fast track the technology transfer that we need. Next is organize workshop and training programs to enhance supply chain and distribution management, and this also goes into other programs that we may use to incorporate and help students become best professional entrepreneurs in this country. The other solutions are the institutional solutions. We have to establish a dedicated office of entrepreneurship to support student startup. I believe this is something under the Center of Technology and Innovation. I believe it is my hope and pleasure that we can have an office dedicated specifically to entrepreneurs who are trying to start up something, and we can have that knowledge and trainings and workshops from ground level, from 0 to 1. Next is promote interdisciplinary collaboration between departments to foster innovation. And this is within the larger Technical University of Kenya community. We can try and see how, FEBE, which is the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, can collaborate with the Faculty of Social Sciences, because charity begins at home. We need to see how we can exchange knowledge within ourselves and see how we can also take it out there. Next is simplify technology transfer procedures and ensure fair intellectual property agreement. So this will also go in a long way to alleviate a lot of challenges that we have been experiencing, and this will also encourage students to come and say, I have this idea, I have this project, how can I best go about it? I have this idea, can you tell me, where I can go and make it a big thing without having to fear that the university is going to snatch your idea and make it into something else.
So one of the foundation, the strategic foundations of Kenya Bureau of Standards for the strategic direction from 2020 to 2027, and the strategic foundation one is technology and innovation. That's the reason why we very, very important in what you do as researchers. You're from academia and also from the MSMEs. You do a lot of research, you develop products, you engineer your processes and all that. So technology and innovation is key focus for Kenya Bureau of Standards. So we are not out of tune, we are actually in sync with respect to the collaboration of the two institutions and also bringing on board the MSMEs. The strategic plan 2020-2027 also gives a lot of emphasis on the MSMEs, how we can be able to support them, how we can be able to help them get their products and their development to the commercial space.
One of the hindrances that is especially when we think about transmission of technology and innovation, especially from the institutions of higher learning, is lack of knowledge and from the researchers and the inventors, how they can get to the marketplace with their innovations. And from our institution, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the Research and Development Department, we are very cognizant of the fact that a lot of research is done and does not reach the marketplace, especially from the institutions of higher learning. And that's why through the Research and Development Department in Kenya Bureau of Standards, we exist to make sure that such kind of inventions, such kind of technological advancements reach the marketplace. There is a couple of regulatory requirements that needs to be met for the technological advancement and innovations and inventions to make it to the marketplace and the commercial place. And I will speak from the view of my institution. The Kenya Bureau of Standards in its strategic plan of 2020-2027, one of the strategic foundations is technology and innovation. We know that we will not be able to attain or to realize our mandate if we are not open and ready to embrace technology and innovation. And in the same way, how are we able to offer solutions in standardization, metrology, and conformity assessment without technology and innovation? So we cannot say that we're going to give a blind eye to that. But what do we do actually as an institution to make sure that the innovations, the inventions that are developed elsewhere, they're able to reach the consumer or the intended partakers of such kind of inventions in a way that it's secure for them, in such a way that their products that are developed from the produce of research and development, it is by collaborations. So one of the barriers that are there is the silo mentality.
when the inventors, the researchers, in the institutions of higher learning, they conduct their research and the inventions and innovations in silos. So Kenya Bureau of Standards does not know what is happening to them. And as you've seen in the workshop and in the progress of the forum that we have here in Naivasha, there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, I would call it ignorance or lack of information. When you think about Kenya Bureau of Standards, is a key enabler to make sure that the inventions and that have been created by way over 1,200 SMEs that are here, MSMEs that are here, they don't know what KEBS does. They have no idea how they can be able to relate with KEBS. So they see KEBS as a barrier to actually trade, whilst KEBS exists to eliminate barriers to trade. So some of the regulatory requirements is that the product that you're developing, what you're manufacturing, needs to ascribe to a certain threshold of requirements. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, that is arrived through consensus, which is a standard that guarantees safety for human consumption and efficacy for what is supposed to be used. Is it meeting the requirements of what it was created? So for instance, if it's the reusable sanitary pads, is it meeting the requirements that have been stipulated in the Kenyan standard? Is it actually meeting the requirements of what it was intended in its production or in its development? So one of the barriers is where our inventors, our innovators, our researchers, they conduct research and they have no idea what is required in terms of the standards, the requirements, thresholds that should be met for the product that they're developing. When you look at the bottom-up transformative agenda of the current government, as now we are calling it better, they have about 5 pillars. And the last pillar, they have got agriculture. They have a key focus on MSMEs. They have got a key focus on universal health, a focus on housing and settlement. And there is a focus on digital superhighway, creative knowledge. When you talk about that, you look at how are we able to really tap into the benefits of, for example, research and development, of innovations and inventions, especially in attainment of the bottom-up economic approach and transformative agenda that the government has. And to answer your question, how we can be able to do this, we need to have collaborative thoughts. We have to break our silos. We need, as a Kenya Bureau of Standards, to understand when the policies are developed in other institutions that target, especially the dissemination of innovations, world over, globally. The trend is changing from where you do your thing my way. As they say, when you go it alone, you go faster. You can go fast. But when you go together, you can actually go further and you can achieve much. So we need the multi-institutional, multidisciplinary collaborations. We need to have the institutions that are making policies. We need the institutions that are conducting research, the institutions of higher learning, the government policy makers, the KIPRAs, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and other, the National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation. We need that kind of collaboration that we've seen here this week. Bringing in together on the table, the same table, there is a space and a place for everybody on the table. And then we can be able to discuss the issues to do with science, technology, innovation, and how are we able to realize the benefits of the research and development and the outputs and the outcomes of research and development. As I said yesterday, and I echo the words of Musalia Mudavadi last week when he was launching a hub at the University of Nairobi. He said we need to publish. Previously, the institutions of higher learning, they said you publish or perish. But now we are looking at publishing, patenting, and prosperity. When you talk about patenting, this is a creative knowledge that we are talking about that has come up with novel ideas, novel products. But when you talk about prosperity, we are talking about these inventions, these innovations, these research outcomes finding their place at the shelf, finding their place at a commercial level in such a way that now we can be able to say we have been able to transition the research and development, the inventions at the commercial level, and there's actually a commercial or an economic gain from such kind of molecules of technology and innovation.
We are saying that a key challenge in developing countries is the low capacity of farms, whether they are corporates, whether they are small and medium enterprises, but mostly the small and medium enterprises, who are known to be the engine for growth in these countries. And they're challenged in identifying the value, absorbing, and utilizing new technologies. This is something that was an assumption at the beginning. We got it from literature, but we have confirmed it empirically, and we'll explain how that was done. Then on the other hand, knowledge-based institutions like universities and research institutions do generate novel research and technologies which often remain underutilized in our library shelves. The research that we do, the many things that we do in our institution, most of it does not reach industry. Again, this was an assumption or an observation from literature review, and we have been able to confirm this in this particular project. So previous studies which we got from the desktop research indicates that there are barriers, and these barriers have they come from three different perspectives. There are organizational barriers to this, there are institutional barriers, and there are regulatory barriers, which is part of what we'll be doing again in this particular project. So this is how we are approaching this project. So what we're doing is that we seek to develop a technology transfer assistance model with this project to effectively bridge the gap between technology sources and technology users. And the approach we are taking is we are bringing as much interaction between these two entities as possible in this project. And we'll show you in a minute how we're doing that. Then we are using the concept of an innovation ecosystem. So for a particular purpose, we have taken the Nairobi innovation ecosystem as our case study.
At KIRDI, we do a lot of support. Our main focus are the small and medium enterprises, but we also work with industries. And in doing that, as I said, we have various strategies. One of them is a prototype or product development. This is where the client will come in and tell us, I have this idea, I want to make this kind of product. Whichever field that you are interested in, we will link you up with the respective researchers who will help you develop that product to a level that you can put in the market. Our researchers work very closely with KEPS, so they know the standards and the quality that is required. So by the time you leave KIRDI, you have a product that can easily pass the quality mark. So in terms of a prototype, for those of us who are interested in the engineering field, we also have that support the SMEs who are doing engineering work or engineering related works, and they want to come up with a product that maybe a client wants to see whether it is working or not. So we have the engineering section, they will assist you in coming up with a prototype. Or even for those who are thinking in terms of mass production, the engineering section, here in that field will also help you. We also do a lot of training and capacity building for the SMEs in various fields, depending on what you are interested in. We've seen a lot of interest in the cosmetics and food-related products. Our strength is in business incubation, where we incubate the SMEs for a given period of time, during which time we provide them with various skills and ensure that by the time they go out, they have a product in the market. This has been one of our strengths, because you see most of the SMEs, they come in with maybe just an idea of one product. By the time they are leaving, they have a value, a diversified number of products. It is the biggest strength because most of the SMEs might not even have the facilities to produce these products. So by incubating them for a given period of time, we give them that startup or that advantage of starting from a positive position. Most of them will find that they do these things in their kitchens at home, but by giving them that facility, they are now able to even have the confidence to go into the market and start marketing their products. Another facility that we provide is the common manufacturing facility. This is where the SMEs, they just come in with their raw materials and produce their product up to the final product, what they want to put in the market. This also helps the SMEs because most of these equipment are very, very expensive. So the SMEs just come in with the raw materials and they produce the product, and whatever you see is what now they take into the market. We've seen a lot of success also in that area. And with that, we have various facilities. For those of us, I saw the lady was talking about sanitary pads. We have equipment that assist in doing that, where you can now just produce sanitary pads in mass. And that we support in all the fields that we talked about, be it in food, in the textile, in the leather. So maybe one day, if you have time, you can also visit us.
One of the hurdles that institutions of research or higher education face in technology transfer to small-scale traders, for example, or businesses, one of them is the budget that these institutions have. The budget, you know, is always not enough for them to be able to reach out, go out, let's say physically, using various means of transportation to different regions of the country and reach these clients and familiarize them with the technology, have questions from the small-scale traders answered. Another hurdle is, for example, the cost of reaching the small traders. The mass communication, you know, is very expensive. Just like I've said that the budgets are lower, so reaching most of the clients by physical means is limited by the budgets. But now the mass communication again is very expensive. Another hurdle is, you know, these traders, they are dispersed, even in a place like Nairobi or major cities, they are dispersed all over the city. So reaching them as a group requires a lot of effort for whoever wants to reach them, to get them together and transfer the information or technologies to them. One of the recommendations would be to give those clients continuous education about the benefits of adopting new ideas, about the benefits of knowing about new ideas and how this can actually improve their incomes and their welfare. So that one needs a continuous education. This can be done, for example, through mass communication by, for example, larger organizations whose budgets can cover that. Again, the internet has become a little cheaper, so maybe more effort should be put into directing the information to the internet and making the clients be aware of which websites can those information or ideas be found. For the budgets of the institutions, the budgets can be improved and the budgets can be improved. So that way, a little more of the clients can be reached. The other thing to do would be to, for example, organize these small businesses into associations whereby information can be channeled to those associations so that they are able to get them to their members much more easily and much more cheaply.
Some of the highlights that came out were research has proven that there is exclusion when it comes to female innovators. And this is when we speak about the gender, we speak about inclusion of the gender. And somebody stated that it's important for inclusivity in this study because they included 30% of women and also included people who are differently able. And so they actually noted that affirmative action is required over and over, as much as we went to be. And so for technological transfer, there were different conceptualizations as per the organizations depending on who they are. Just like the SMEs, for you to understand, you need to know what is it that they are dealing with. And okay, I think that's my cue. And then there was, of course, knowledge transfer that we have just discussed now of people living with disabilities. And Boniface was just highlighting to us, Boniface, right? Yes, was just highlighting to us what the training did for them. And I think that's fresh in your minds right now that she spoke about the barriers, about the formats that information is presented. If it's not in braille, the person who has no sight will not be able to read it. And also he was talking about financial institutions, which he envisions that they can be able to make a contribution and fund the various people with disabilities. And of course he spoke about the treasury in Kenya. He spoke about the NGOs, what they cannot do. He spoke about social media and the media generally. And then there was, we were not told her name, Susan. Okay, so, and also Susan was speaking also about her experiences. And Susan noted that she feels that people with disabilities have been sort of relegated somehow to the periphery because she felt actually that there was oppression. She actually used the word oppress. They expressed the people who are living with disability, and she noted that some technology is not favorable for people living with disability. And then she noted also that bank cannot give them loans because of the certifications that they lack. Yeah, so those were just some of the issues, and Professor Rina asked about tax waiver when it comes to like computers that people with disabilities need. And it's just still shocking that the government only gives waiver when you import something and not when you buy it locally. I don't know, okay, anyway, but then we were actually told that if you're an employer, what you should do. If you have your self-employed, put yourself on a salary, get the waiver. If you are an employer, ensure that you actually note, employers should note that there is need for tax relief for people with disability. I think the government has a way of working that out with those employers. And that's one information that some of us do not have, that if my employer can actually speak to governments. And also it was noted that in various counties there are offices of people living with disability. This has actually made it easier, because I was told that long ago, people had to travel to Nairobi to just seek help, but right now, these offices have come in handy, so that's actually something. And just to wind up, there was concern about buildings that don't comply. I once taught in a university that they didn't comply. So you would find that in the morning, students would have to carry the person with disability up the stairs up to fourth floor or fifth floor because they can't get there. So I'm glad that these days I can see that these things are improving by the day and everybody is being made comfortable. And of course, Habiba, thanks for giving us an energizer when you came here. and we will note that you want the students to be involved and your concerns should be addressed at the hand. So basically that's it. Thank you.